Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Stinchfield. So we'll just say it flat out here. The Black Lives Matter movement is a sham, folks. The only thing it represents is chaos and self-enrichment. And that chaos was on full display in Minneapolis this weekend after cops in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, not far from Minneapolis, shot and killed a 20-year-old black man during a traffic stop gone bad. The looters, destroyers, and overall chaos creators were out in full force within the hour. Looting, destroying businesses that had nothing to do with the shooting, by the way. Now, these same businesses, already recovering from a pandemic and previous riots, are now forced to rebuild again. While the mayor of Brooklyn Center says this about it.
And we all here in Brooklyn Center recognize the pain that you're going through. And we are going to make sure that everything is done in our power to ensure that justice is done.
All right, to ensure that justice is done. To me, it sounds like a wink and a nod to BLM rioters. Go ahead and have at it. Well, today, police released the Bodycam footage, and we learned two things here. One is that the 20-year-old suspect, Dante Wright, can be seen clearly resisting arrest, a consistent theme in these police shootings. His actions were a clear danger to the officers. The second thing we learned is that the chief is calling the shooting an accident, okay? The officer apparently intended to pull out her taser, but instead pulled out her firearm. Listen. All right. Oh, wow. Taser, taser, taser. That's the officer warning her fellow officers that she's about to deploy the taser. Only after she fired her weapon did she realize, apparently, that she fired her gun. A clear training failure that ultimately led to the death of that suspect. Now, let me be clear. Even though the officer apparently is admitting to making a mistake, an argument could still be made that deadly force was warranted here. There are reports the suspect was wanted on felony weapons possession charges. The police knew about it. And evading police. Police knew about that. Fighting officers like you just saw, you could argue any officer could feel like they were in imminent threat, that imminent bodily harm could come at any moment. There's no duty, by the way, to deploy a taser. An officer can go to their firearm first, and many do. Still, the video makes it clear. This wasn't about race. It was an accident, as the officer apparently admits, and the suspect was fighting police. If you obey commands and show your hands from the very start, you'd never get into an incident like this. Yet, the rioters took to the streets before the facts were known and probably will take to the streets again tonight. These rioters didn't wait for the facts. It took minutes for them to take over the streets after the shooting, and the fact that police let them run wild only breeds more destruction. Law and order must be restored instantly, but sadly, this is exactly what we see in liberal cities across the country, and the media is aiding and abetting this destruction. Just listen to the so-called reporters at today's news conference with Brooklyn Center Police Chief Tim Gannon.
What was your decision to issue a dispersal order while they were peacefully protesting in front of the police station?
Yeah, just so everybody's clear, I was front and center at the protest, at the riot. We did not.
There was a riot. Don't do that. There was no riot.
There was.
So what are the plans for tonight?
Tonight we're going. If it's a peaceful protest, if it's a First Amendment protest, go to it.
I guess what's your definition of a peaceful protest? Because we don't understand.
Yeah, not being pelted with bricks, blocks, and being targeted.
Police chief, we hear that you have committed to protecting this building and protecting the city tonight if there are protests. Will you commit to protecting protesters and the people of the city?
I am committed to protecting the peaceful protesters of the city every day.
Not yesterday.
Peaceful protesters.
Peaceful protesters. I didn't see many peaceful protesters. It has to be a joke, okay? So peaceful that Minneapolis declared a state of emergency for tonight and mandated a 7 p.m. curfew. So peaceful that the Minnesota Twins baseball team and Minnesota Wild hockey team canceled their games for this evening. And does this look like social justice warriors heartbroken over the death of another black man at the hands of so-called police? They are literally celebrating in front of cops there. Watch them dancing on your screen. That after rioters just looted the T-Mobile. They are unafraid, folks, of any consequences whatsoever. They are celebrating the destruction and theft of property. How is that what you're looking at right there have anything to do with Black Lives Matter? Thieves cleaned out this independent-owned men's clothing store because nothing says Black Lives Matter like stealing from your neighbors, right? This whole thing is an absolute disgrace. So please, someone explain to me how this moves forward the conversation about policing in America. The people of Minneapolis should be embarrassed by the criminal behavior of its citizens and by City Hall for enabling the destruction and chaos. Well, to discuss all of this, I want to welcome in former NYPD Commissioner and Newsmax contributor, Bernard Kerik. Commissioner, great to see you.
Thanks, Grant.
All right, a couple things I want to break down. In many respects, Minneapolis, these liberal cities, they asked for this from the very first riot going back years ago when they didn't arrest the first person who threw the first rock, Commissioner.
Yeah. You know what? I just got to get this off my chest, Grant. You know, everything I just watched and listened in your opening to, besides the shooting itself, are the reporters. The reporters sound like thug advocates, right? They're basically attacking the chief instead of inquiring as to what happened, how, why, and reporting. They're basically attacking the chief. Somebody made the comment, well, you weren't protecting anyone yesterday. You know what? That stuff makes me sick. The bottom line is, based on what I've seen, and I don't like to speculate in these incidents, based on what I've seen, it was a tragic accident. The officer, thought she was using her taser. As you mentioned, when she said taser, 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 that's a deployment announcement so that everybody gets out of the way so she could fire the taser. Instead, she fired her service revolver or service weapon. At the end of the day, this kid is dead, and he's dead basically because he resisted. Had he not resisted, had he gone along with the original officer that was putting the handcuffs on him, he'd still be alive today. And this is a theme that we've seen over and over and over in a bunch of these incidents.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so easy, Commissioner. I've got this phrase, obey commands, show your hands. You do those things over and over again, I promise you'll have a 100% survival rating with police.
Right. Yeah, you know what? And this goes back to exactly why all those kids are dancing in the street, why they're looting. You know what? Everybody's talking about police reform. How about thug reform? How about the community activists go out there in the communities and tell these young people that thinks it's okay to attack a cop, to resist arrest, to jump in front of a car, a police car. How about telling them what the law is? It's illegal. You're engaging in criminal conduct. And if you do, no matter at what level, you're going to get arrested. And if you resist arrest, they're going to use force to take you into custody. You know what? I'm sick and tired of it always being the cop's fault. In this case, the cop has a problem, I believe. And like I said, I don't like to speculate, but based on what I've seen, I think the cop has a problem. This was an accident. And, still, that being said, everybody should wait for the investigation to be concluded.
Well, what it proved to me was that it wasn't about race. You've got a suspect that is resisting. She clearly thinks she has her taser, yells taser, taser. It wasn't out to take the life of a young black man. To me, that is clear, yet they still looted, which tells me it's an excuse. I want to ask you, though, about the police department, because I've got this theory of talking to officers on the street out there. I think the department is handcuffed by City Hall. I mean, you have the police car and the cruiser. They're jumping on that. Commissioner, that never would have happened in New York City under your command, them destroying a police car in front of officers.
Well, it only happens, Grant, because the mayor and the police commissioner or the police chief or the governor, it only happens because they allow it. If they wanted to stop it, they could stop it by enhancing the resources in the department, bringing in outside agencies, bringing in the National Guard, and sending a message to the community. And mostly, I got to tell you, Grant, 90% of the time, it's not the local community. It's the outside advocates and activists, the BLM, the Antifa. They're the ones instigating. If we didn't want that stuff to happen, you could stop it. The mayors allow it, the chiefs allow it, and the governors allow it.
Well, that is an absolute fact, and we've seen it happen over and over and over again. And it really is a tragedy because the law-abiding citizens of those communities, I guarantee you, Commissioner, are frustrated by it. But as always, Bernard Carrick, it is great to have you on the program. Good to see you again.
Grant, thank you.
All right, you got it. So the left is trying to take the reins when it comes to your healthcare choices. Boy, they've been doing this for a while, right? Coming up, how does the media trying to take control and how you can take that control back? Plus, leaders of some of the biggest corporations in America are wading into politics in a very big way. They want to dictate voting laws in your state, and it all goes back to their hatred for President Trump. Their quest to keep him out of office again continues.
They don't like being told to give us your money and shut up. They have voice, and it matters, and the American public wants to hear it.